Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Todd Chrisley says Lindsie never should have married Will. Todd Chrisley believes his oldest daughter Lindsie got married to her husband Will Campbell for the wrong reasons. The Chrisley knows best patriarch thinks shame and guilty drove his daughter Lindsie to jump into a marriage with a man that wasn't right for her. And then she spent the next 9 years married to someone for the wrong reasons. Why does Todd Chrisley think Lindsie's marriage with Will should have never happened? Keep reading for the details. Todd Chrisley shares thoughts on Lindsie's marriage. During a recent episode of his Chrisley Confessions podcast, Todd spent some time talking about how to maintain a long and healthy marriage. He discussed some of the challenges that come with doing that. Having a child that got divorced after 9 years of marriage, it wasn't too surprising that Lindsie came up as a topic of conversation. Todd points out that because his daughter Lindsie was intimate with Will, she felt as though she had to marry him. Sadly, Todd believes that his oldest daughter felt a lot of shame and guilt over her decision to be intimate before marriage. And she thought she could fix the situation and the way she felt about it by marrying Will. The divorce brought them together. As TV shows Ace previously reported, there was some good that came out of Lindsie Chrisley's divorce. She reconnected with her father. At the time of her divorce, she was estranged from her father and had him blocked on social media. That, however, didn't stop Todd's heart from breaking after learning of Lindsie's divorce. He penned a heartfelt message offering an olive branch to her, even though he didn't know if she would ever see it. Finally, what fans always hoped for happened. Lindsie and Todd left the past in the past. They reconnected. And the family was whole again. Lindsie, Todd, Savannah, and Julie even came together for a tell-all podcast episode recently. Likewise, Todd has been spending tons of time on video calls with Jackson. There's never been a shortage of drama in the Chrisley family, but when Todd Chrisley speaks, the world listens, even from behind bars. Recently, Todd reportedly shared an emotional and brutally honest reflection about his eldest daughter, Lindsie Chrisley, and her complicated past with ex-husband Will Campbell. His words weren't just tinged with regret. They were full of the raw vulnerability of a father who feels he failed to protect his child from the kind of heartbreak that leaves invisible scars. According to insiders close to the family, Todd has had plenty of time in prison to reflect on the choices his family made before their public downfall. And one topic that keeps resurfacing is Lindsie's marriage. Todd says Lindsie never should have married Will, a source explained. He feels like she rushed into it out of rebellion and pride, not love, and he blames himself for not handling it better when she first introduced Will to the family. Their strained relationship has been a central storyline in the Chrisley saga for years. Long before the tax fraud headlines, before reality TV turned into reality chaos, Todd and Lindsie's father-daughter bond had already been tested. When she eloped with Will Campbell back in 2012 without her family's blessing, it created a rift that took years to even begin to mend. Todd, ever the protective and opinionated patriarch, had made his disapproval clear from the start. In his eyes, Will was not ready for the responsibility of being a husband or father. Todd always said Lindsie needed someone who could lift her up, not pull her into constant chaos, the source continued. He saw her as independent, smart, and driven, but also vulnerable to the wrong kind of love. And in many ways, Todd may have been right. Lindsie and Will's relationship was tumultuous from the beginning. Their on-again, off-again marriage spanned nearly a decade, during which they welcomed their son, Jackson. But while they shared moments of joy, their union was marked by deep trust issues, emotional distance, and eventually separation. Lindsie filed for divorce in 2021, a decision she called the hardest and healthiest choice. From Todd's current vantage point, those years now look like a missed opportunity, not only for Lindsie's happiness but for reconciliation between them. Todd says if Lindsie hadn't married Will, they might never have drifted so far apart, a family friend said. He believes her marriage became a wall between her and the rest of the family. In private, Todd's reflections have reportedly been emotional. Fellow inmates have said he often speaks of his children with both pride and heartbreak, but his tone changes when it comes to Lindsie. There's a heavy regret that lingers. He wishes he'd handled things differently, that he'd listened instead of lectured, supported instead of scolded, a close family insider revealed. But at the same time, Todd admits he can't help but feel he was right about Will all along. It's no secret that the Chrisley family's dynamic was always complicated. On Chrisley Knows Best, viewers saw the humor, the banter, and the strict parenting style that made Todd both loved and criticized. But what the cameras didn't always capture was the deep emotional undercurrent, especially when it came to Lindsie, who had always felt slightly outside the family's inner circle. When she left the show in 2017, it marked a turning point. She distanced herself not only from the spotlight, but also from the family drama that came with it. Later, public disputes and conflicting statements in the media only widened the chasm. Todd once said on his podcast that he didn't know if reconciliation was possible, but he never stopped praying for it. Now, with years of separation and self-reflection, Todd seems to be realizing that the wounds between them were less about rebellion and more about misunderstanding. He understands now that Lindsie wasn't trying to defy him, said another insider. She was trying to find her own identity, and will happen to be a part of that journey. In one particularly emotional letter to a friend, Todd reportedly wrote, "I thought I was protecting her, but I was just pushing her away. Sometimes love disguised as control drives the ones you love the farthest from you." Those words, raw and unfiltered, show a man who is learning that being right doesn't always mean winning. Meanwhile, Lindsie has been living her life away from the chaos. Her podcast, The Southern Tea, has become a safe space where she discusses everything from motherhood to mental health to co-parenting with Will. While she rarely talks about Todd directly, her tone in recent months has softened. She's even expressed that she's open to healing and believes time has a way of changing hearts. It's a sentiment that mirrors Todd's own evolution. Despite his pride, he reportedly hopes that one day, he and Lindsie can rebuild their bond. Not as the combative father and defiant daughter of years past, but as two people who have learned from pain and perspective. Lindsie's marriage may have been a mistake, Todd said, according to those close to him, but it doesn't mean she's a failure. It just means she tried to love the wrong person the right way. Those are powerful words from a man who once saw everything in black and white. Today, Todd Chrisley is learning that life is far more complicated. That mistakes don't define family, forgiveness does. In many ways, his reflection on Lindsie's marriage feels like a metaphor for the Chrisley family as a whole. They've been through public humiliation, legal battles, and emotional devastation. Yet at their core, they are still searching for the same thing: redemption and reconnection. "Family is the one thing I can't control," Todd reportedly told a confidant. "And maybe that's the lesson God's been trying to teach me all along." It's unclear whether Lindsie and Todd will ever fully repair their relationship, but there's hope on both sides. Lindsie has said that forgiveness is a process, and Todd seems ready to meet her halfway. For now, the Chrisley patriarch sits in reflection, humbled by the passage of time and softened by love that never truly faded. His message, that Lindsie never should have married Will, may sound like old criticism, but beneath it lies something deeper: a father's ache, a plea for understanding, and the hope that someday, the daughter who once slipped away will find her way home again.